Dinner with families. My elementary school experiences were very important for my personal development. Most of my best friends were Black, but we attended a school that was primarily white in a predominantly white neighborhood. I've spoken about the tracking system in public schools before, and this was very present during my time in public school. I was tracked into a very high reading level group. Given the home ritual of Hooked on Phonics, my godfather made me participate in. One of the other students in my track was a student named Rebecca. Her father was an academic researcher, and her mother was a stay at home mom. Her father was Caucasian, and her mother was Asian. They were a very nice family, and there are many aspects of Bohemian culture I took away from them. When I look back, I realize now that the relationship that family had with my family might have been one of the only real relationships with Black people they ever had. I'm not sure if this is good or bad. I've not been alive that long, and I'm no revolutionary. Um, but I can read about the civil rights movement and understand what it was hypothetically and what some Black people were fighting for. But I didn't have to participate in that fight. What I see and experience in my own life are the after effects of the choices that most people made and are actively making. Adults and young adults are choosing to selectively racially segregate, and I don't really have an issue with that. I have an issue with the inference. I heard something recently about representation and that people judge you based on how you represent yourself. But I don't agree with this. If someone doesn't understand what you are representing, then how can it be assumed that they understand what you're representing, you know? Um so it doesn't hold true. Here's an example. If I wear a Habesha bracelet with the Ethiopian colors around my wrist to show Habesha pride, but you, as an observer, don't know what Habesha is, you might just assume it's a festive bracelet from a music festival or something else that you are familiar with because in your life, that's what you have experienced. You would be wrong, but if you did not take the time to ask questions and clarify your assumptions, then you're mislabeling what someone is representing themselves as and not indeed what they are. So understanding that a shared experience comes with mutual understanding gives you the opportunity to explain your perspective to someone else and then gives them the opportunity to digest that information and then understand a worldview that they did not understand before. I'm just going to expand on that a little bit more. Like, I talk a little bit about what Habesha culture is and how it's like related to, I don't know, I guess the African diaspora, right? Because it's one country. But there's other aspects of it, like religion, like coffee, like food, like family, like music, like dresses and garb, and a lot of other things, right? And it's okay to not understand it, but if someone is trying to explain it to you, especially like let's say if they're wearing like a traditional dress for like the coffee festival, for instance, it's perfectly fine to say, "Wow, that's like a beautiful dress." But maybe like give a person an opportunity to explain to you like the purpose of the dress because it probably does have a purpose. And it's okay if you don't understand what that purpose is. And that's what I mean. Like, So if two people are wearing dresses, let's say like out, but like I said, one has this rich cultural heritage to it, and the other does not, frankly, but has some other story. In order for there to be a shared experience, there needs to be like mutual empathy between both people and a shared understanding of what each person is experiencing. So I don't think it's fair to call things a shared experience simply because two people are in the same place at the same time doing the same thing. There's nothing shared about that if the translation is not there so that everyone understands what's going on. Okay, so let's talk about the tree house. So, I spent a lot of time with Rebecca growing up and hanging out in her backyard where she had a series of tree houses, which was very cool. So we spent a lot of time climbing trees and having dinner. And she was a very interesting girl. But when I think back on it, I kind of wish I would have spent more of that time with someone who was like racially similar to me, someone who was black. Like I definitely spent time with my black friends as well. But, and I'm not saying I don't appreciate her friendship, but I just kind of feel like it was pointless because, like, when I look at the way that our lives turned out, like, I don't even talk to her anymore, like, at all. Like, we're not connected on any platforms. Like, I have no idea what's going on in her life. And I think that that says so much in terms of, like, how stratified our society is. And I guess, when I was younger, I had this idea that, there was like one society. And the more that I've like grown up, I've just realized that there's like black society and then there's like white society and then there's like Hispanic society. And we all have our own countries and our own religion and our own race and our own culture. And I think that simply because you're born in America, especially if you're black, there's never really a time when you become American first. You're always black first. And I guess, like, when I think back to my friendship with Rebecca, it just seems like a waste of time because, uh, you know, I am black first. Um, so I've said a little bit more than that. I guess the point of this article is to explain something I've learned over time. And that is this. White American society is perfectly happy for me as like a black woman to be alive, indentured and oppressed. But as soon as someone like me, a black woman, starts to exercise autonomy and exert myself as like a capable and competitive person, I feel like the society starts to create new ways for me to fail and more ways to like ensure that I don't have access to opportunities that I am, qualified and capable for simply because I am black. And I think that that is like this come to truth moment. And it's the purpose of this series, but it's also the purpose of this channel. It's just like explaining this in many ways. Like this is it. This is the problem. And for many people, though, I also want to say it's not a problem for them. It's only a problem for me because, like, I personally I am a full 100% human, a black human. So I'm not like less than because I am black in relation to a white person. But I don't know if white society is able to see that. And I am unwilling to encourage that viewpoint. Um, And so I went on to say, when I was a younger adult, I would care more about the struggle. But now that I'm well into adulthood, I would say this is the reason there's no point of integration. Integration assumes equality, but I believe that the races are too different to be equal or compared. I believe we have too many differences to work towards similar shared goals. And this is why Black women should work toward a separate and lasting existence and, like, the promotion of African countries for Black people and the separation from white society in all of its forms. I think it's interesting to have conversations with, colleagues, friends even, and their families from other racial and ethnic groups, potentially to understand and have cross-cultural communication. But I think it is more, useful just in terms of, really having a conversation, but I also feel, if I'm being honest, that you can just do that online. I think that YouTube or TikTok, Instagram are more appropriate places to explore other cultures and view, what the culture is and how they live and even ask questions about it. But I just don't think we need to go as far as like meetups or working together or living together or anything like that. I think that that is a bit too far.